once again to Geek with a Bible, where we ask deep questions, we embrace God's love, and spread that love to everyone. I am your resident geek and host, Aaron McCoy. We are continuing our series on Galatians, where we are learning about the core foundations of the gospel. So, continuing on, so once again, just in case you're new here, the Galatians are starting to believe false teaching. They're believing that their righteousness, that what makes them good, are their actions rather than the actions of Jesus, by putting their faith in God, putting their faith in the death and resurrection of Jesus. And Paul is just really trying to bring them back to this essential eternal truth that you don't save you, Jesus saves you, and it's not your culture, it's not your lineage, it's nothing of this that saves you, it's God. So let's go ahead and read. Here we have Galatians 3:5. Paul says, "Does he who supplies the Spirit to you and works miracles among you do so by works of the law or by hearing with faith? Just as Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him as righteousness." So this is saying here is that there are times whenever people, they pray. Maybe you've seen this. Have you seen this where God has answered the prayers of someone who's really not that attuned to him? I mean, it happens. It happens. I've seen this. I've seen people who are living crazy lives, and there's all kinds of blessings that God is bringing to them. They'll pray for some sickness to be healed, and it's healed. And sometimes this can get frustrating because sometimes we'll see people who are very faithfully serving God, people who are really diligent, who know Him deeply, and sometimes they pray and they don't get the answer that they were expecting. And so he's saying, listen, were these miracles done amongst you? Were these because did they have to do something first? Did they have to come and do some kind of a special ceremony, special? It's like, no. These people were praying and they were having their prayers answered. Now, I do want to briefly touch upon this as well. Very, very important issue. Unanswered prayers. I do believe that God hears our prayers, and I believe that He does respond to our prayers. I believe that He wants us to pray. But sometimes He doesn't answer them the way that we think that He should, because, I mean, honestly, it's good that we have a filter. I'm glad that God is He's not just the magic genie. He's just going to grant us whatever we want and give us unlimited power. No. There's a filter there. So if God knows that something is going to result to greater harm, if He knows that something is not going to ultimately go out the way that God has it planned, His answer might be no. That's His right. He's God. He's the Lord. He does what He wants, and He loves us, and He wants to give good gifts. Jesus, He says, does a father, if his son asks for bread, is the dad going to give him a scorpion for asking for bread? He's like, no. When you come to me, I'm not going to give you something bad instead. But it just might be that what we need isn't what we want. And we often get angry at God for this. I can't remember if I've used this illustration or not before, but you think about, like, sometimes, let's say I have my child, okay, who's, very, very small, doesn't fully understand everything going on. So I take him into this strange room, and there's this person that he doesn't really know. They've got a big sharp needle, and they're coming to stab him in the arm. And my kid's scared. He doesn't want it. And he's saying, stop it, stop, no. He's saying, no, I don't want it. And some people would say, what a cruel parent. Shouldn't they give the kid what they want? Shouldn't they not allow that? Shouldn't they listen to their child? Well, if that needle isn't just some random needle, but it's a shot that's going to help either protect them from an illness or cure them of something that they already have, or maybe numb a spot that's going to have, that would cause greater pain. No, the most loving thing that I can do for my child is comfort them. I can hold my child and say, I love you. I'm here. I'm not abandoning you. I'm not leaving you. I'm right here, right with you. Trust me. Please trust me. And then the needle goes in anyways. And sometimes I think that emotional healing sometimes is just as miraculous as physical healing. So I know I've mentioned before we lost our twin girls. They were 22 weeks developing, so they were fully formed. They had everything, and they didn't make it. We were able to. The doctors were able to operate on my wife while the girls were in her stomach, but it still didn't save them. And I tell you what, we were praying hard. There was a lot of people praying. We had a lot of people praying, and they still passed. And that's rough. That's a deep kind of pain. And I'll be honest. There's sometimes it is hard for me to pray. Sometimes there is this feeling of what's the point? Will this do anything? But the deepest point is that it's bringing us to God. It's bringing us to Him. And He's the one who can bring, so He's either going to bring physical healing or He's going to bring us emotional healing. And He really has. I mean, I'm amazed at what I've seen God do in my wife during that time. I was blown away by the strength that she had. Because there are some times whenever, I've seen her take some things really hard in the past. And to see her, now it was still hard. I mean, trust me, we suffered deeply whenever we lost our girls. But to see that healing, and there's still a scar there. Any time we see twins, there's pain there. Anytime. Now, look, I'm happy that you have twins. I'm great. No ill feelings, but yeah, there's a scar there. But there's also healing. There's deep healing, deep miraculous healing that comes through that. And the other thing is don't think that if healing hasn't come in the way that you were expecting, don't say to yourself, oh, it must be because of me. God must be punishing me. I need to have done better. I should have been a better person. No. That's not the message. He says that the miracles that were done, the miracles that are taken care of have not come because of your right and wrong actions. They come both through faith and through God's knowledge, through God's deeper understanding of things than we have. We see this with Paul. Paul kept on asking. He had some kind of thorn in his side, and he kept asking God, please remove this. And God said, I'm doing something with this you don't understand. I'm doing something you don't get, and you're going to have to trust me through this. I'm going to use that. He says, I'm going to use this. It's going to keep you humble. It's going to do things in you that you don't understand. And here's something else as well. I adore the children I have now. And even though that we've buried my twins, we didn't bury my love for them. I still love those girls. I still visit their grave, and I still love them. And you know what? It was right around this time too. It was brutal. It was really, really brutal. But here's the thing, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it. Because I have the children that I have now. And I have even more love. I have the love for my twins, and I have the love for my two kids that are here with us. I absolutely wouldn't change it. So, Paul, he is saying that faith is the driving factor. It is faith, not your works. It's not your right. It's Scriptures also says that God causes the rain and the sun to fall onto the righteous and the unrighteous. But ultimately, what we're justified by is faith. Let's look here. He says, and he gives us a comparison also with, he talks about Abraham. He says, just as Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him as righteousness. So something to know about Abraham. So Abraham originally, he came from a pagan background. He wasn't fully like within the whole, he wasn't really like a worshiper of God too much, but God called him. God knew what he was going to do with him, and he called him, and he led him out from his family, and he took him through various challenges. And I'll tell you what, Abraham didn't always show as being a stand-up guy. There were 2 occasions where he said, listen, he told his wife, you're beautiful, all right? You are a hottie, hot McHotterson, okay? And if people see you, they're going to kill you, or they're going to kill me and take you. All right. Now, I don't want that to happen. So here's what you don't want me to die, do you? So here's what we're going to do. You're going to not say that you're my wife. We're going to say you're my sister. Okay. Now things might happen to you. Horrible, terrible, degrading, awful, unspeakable things might happen to you because of this. But at least they won't happen to me. Because then, hey, we can still make it through. He lied. He did this twice. Now, thankfully, God protected her, kept her safe, and called out Abraham on his wickedness. But that's low. That's really, really low. But yet, this is still the father of the faith. This is still the one that God chose to use, even though he was a slime bucket, even though that was, he'd be canceled today. He would be completely disgraced. He would be doxxed. He would be completely erased from history, or at least try to be erased from history. His statue would come down. But yet this was still the guy that God wanted to use. Because this is the message, is that it's not that God uses perfect people. God uses very messed up people like myself. And let's be honest, God can use very messed up people like you. So I know you might be thinking about like, oh, what about this? And what about this that I did and that I did? And this continual problem that I just can't seem to shake. Yeah, God knows. He knows. He knows it. And he's going to use you. He will use you. He delights in using you. He delights in using people who are messed up. God's not in the cancel culture business. God is in the redemption business. God is in the business of redeeming people, of restoring them, of doing amazing things that will change the world. That's the God that we serve. That is the God that I love. And here's one of the things too as well. So it says that his faith made him righteous. That was whenever he believed. Now something we should think about is that faith is the starting ground. Faith is your foundation. It's your core of everything. And true faith should produce action. So like, okay, here, I got a chair right here. If I say, oh, this chair right here, this is a stable chair. This is a very good, solid chair. Very good, very strong working. This will definitely take care of your pains, and you can sit down on this, and it will comfort you. And I just sit there, and I go, yep, that's a good chair there. Yep, great chair. Good chair. Good chair. But I'm not sitting on it. Nope. But it will trust. Hey, look, I'm putting my faith. I put my faith in the chair. The faith is there. I believe that the chair will sustain me. But I'm not sitting in the chair. Do I actually have faith? Doesn't seem like it, does it? So what do we do? Well, one, I think the first start is to increase your faith. Look at your faith. But the other thing that I would say, step out with the faith that you have. Whatever faith is there. A scripture that I love is whenever the man comes to Jesus and he's asking for healing for his daughter, and he says, I believe. He says, anything is possible for those who believe, and he says, I believe, but help my unbelief. I love that. I might get that tattooed on me. That's an amazing scripture, because I often have struggles. I often have doubts. I often have times where I say I believe, but I don't want to sit on the chair. So I worry. It's like, okay, well, do I really believe this? But I believe what the scripture says, look, just go out with what you have. Whatever amount of faith you have, use that. So maybe it's hard for me to fully sit on it, but maybe I can kind of, okay, maybe I can start off by leaning on it. Okay, maybe I can lean a little bit. Okay, well, that seems pretty sturdy. So maybe I can kind of sit a little. Okay, and the more that you do this, the more that you test your faith, the more that you step out in it, the more you see he catches you. The more you see that he is there. And the more that you see that you can trust him. Because that's really what faith comes down to. Faith is trust. People say, why is faith a good thing? This was in the Bill Maher movie, the Religiosity, I forget what it was called, but he says, why is faith a good thing? Well, because it's trust. I mean, I don't believe in blind faith. But the thing is that in order to have a meaningful life, in order to have a relationship, you have to have trust. And that's really what following God is all about. It is a relationship. And it takes trusting him. It takes belief that he's going to be there. And then if he's not there in the way that you were expecting, believing that he is still working things out in a way that will lead to your ultimate joy and happiness. So that's going to do it for today. We'll see you next time. Once again, this is Geek with the Bible, where we ask deep questions, we embrace God's love, and spread that love to everyone. Make sure that you please comment, like, subscribe, send it off to people, spread the word. And if you want me to speak at any kind of a church event or anything like that, I am more than willing. So, love you guys. Peace.